Hello, Scorpio, and thank you for joining me here at Destiny Guided Tarot. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Venus, and Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. As a general reading, of course, it cannot resonate for everybody, so take what does fit and throw the rest away. If you like, you can watch other placements. They are sometimes more accurate. If you're not sure what the other placements are, you can find it for free at Cafe Astrology, and I've linked that for you below in the description box. So let us begin. Again, this is for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. We're going to start please messages for the first week of January for Libra. Sorry, for Scorpio. This is not Libra. This is Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. King of Swords, Queen of Wands, Queen of Cups, Knight of Wands, and Knight of Pentacles. My goodness. All these court cards. Okay. Let's take a look and see what the story tells. So we begin with the King of Swords, setting a tone of clarity, logic, and truth. This energy is about seeing things as they are and not as you wish them to be. It suggests a moment where a clear decision, honest conversation, or firm boundary is necessary. For example, you may need to step back emotionally and assess the situation rationally, asking what's fair, what's factual, and what makes sense long term. Now, enter the Queen of Wands, bringing warmth, confidence, and creative fire into that clarity. Where the King of Swords thinks strategically, the Queen of Wands acts with passion and self-belief. She represents someone or a part of you who is ready to be seen, take initiative, and inspire others. This could look like confidently sharing your ideas, stepping into leadership, or trusting your charisma rather than second-guessing yourself. And then next we have the Queen of Cups, adding emotional depth and empathy. She reminds you that logic and confidence alone aren't enough. Feelings matter too. This card suggests emotional awareness, compassion, and intuitive understanding. In real life, this might mean checking in with your own emotions before making a decision, or holding space for someone else's vulnerability without trying to fix it. Then the pace shifts with the Knight of Wands, a burst of movement, excitement, and bold action. This energy is impulsive and adventurous, eager to move forward now rather than later. You might feel a sudden urge to act on an idea, travel, start something new, or take a risk. For example, you may decide to speak up spontaneously, change direction quickly, or follow inspiration without a full plan. And then finally, the Knight of Pentacles slows everything down. This card emphasizes consistency, responsibility, and patience. It reminds you that while passion gets things started, steady effort is what brings results. In practice, this could mean committing to daily work, following through on promises, or choosing reliability over instant gratification. So overall, this week tells a story of balance, clear thinking, confident expression, emotional intelligence, inspired action, and steady follow-through. The message is that success comes from integrating all of these energies, thinking clearly, feeling deeply, acting boldly, and staying committed long enough to see real progress. So let's look into the second week of January for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. And here we have Queen of Wands, King of Cups. Oh my. It's interesting. I'm just going to do that for a moment so we can compare. Move them up in a moment. Page of Swords. Interesting how I'm getting all the court cards and none of the numbered cards, or major arcana for that matter. there we go. We have a Four of Cups and one more, please. There we go. That one decided to take a tumble. And Justice. There we go. We have a major. Let's take a look. Just going to move those up so we have room for everything. We'll be off the table otherwise by the end. Alright, so let's check this out. So the second week begins with the Queen of Wands, placing you in a position of confidence, warmth, and self-assured presence. This card suggests you're showing up boldly, expressing yourself authentically, and trusting your instincts. You may be attracting attention naturally, not by force, but by being comfortable in who you are. For example, you might be taking initiative in a creative project, stepping into a leadership role, or simply feeling more self-possessed than usual. Now, next up we have the King of Cups, introducing emotional maturity and calm into the situation. Where the Queen of Wands brings fire, the King of Cups brings steady emotional balance. This can represent someone who responds with understanding rather than reactivity, or it may reflect your own ability to stay emotionally centered. In practical terms, this could look like handling a sensitive conversation with grace, or offering support without becoming overwhelmed by others' feelings. Then we have the Page of Swords, which shifts the focus to communication and curiosity. There's a desire to understand, ask questions, or speak a truth that's been hovering in the background. This card suggests new information, honest conversations, or a change in perspective. For instance, you might receive a message that makes you think differently, or you may feel compelled to ask direct questions instead of making assumptions. However, the Four of Cups shows hesitation or emotional withdrawal. Despite the information or opportunities present, you may feel uncertain, unimpressed, or emotionally disengaged. This can indicate overlooking something valuable because it doesn't arrive in the form that you expected. For example, you might dismiss an offer, conversation, or emotional gesture because you're focused on what you think should happen instead. And then the week concludes with the Justice card, bringing accountability, clarity, and truth to the forefront. This card suggests that clarity will come through honesty and fairness, whether that means making a balanced decision, owning your role in a situation, or seeing things without bias. It can point to a moment of reckoning where choices align with values. In real life, this might look like setting a fair boundary, making a decision based on facts rather than emotions, or realizing that the outcome reflects past actions. So overall, this week tells the story of confident presence balanced with emotional wisdom, and then followed by a need to be honest in your communication and self-reflection. And then the message overall is that while passion and empathy are strengths, true resolution comes from recognizing what you may be overlooking and choosing integrity and fairness as your guiding principles. Let's have a look at the third week of January for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. One more shuffle. Okay, so we start with the 3 major arcana, which is the Empress. And then the Knight of Cups, 3 of Pentacles, the Hermit, and 2 of Pentacles. Alright, let's have a look and see what this tells. So this third week opens with the Empress, setting a tone of growth, care, and abundance. This card suggests something is being nurtured, an idea, a relationship, or even your sense of self. There's an emphasis on creativity and receptivity, where things grow best when they're tended with patience and compassion. For example, you might be supporting someone else, developing a creative project, or learning to treat yourself more gently. Next comes the Knight of Cups, bringing emotional movement and heartfelt intention. This card often represents romantic or idealistic energy. Someone, or you, is guided by feelings and dreams. You may feel inspired to follow your heart, express affection, or pursue something that feels meaningful rather than purely practical. In real life, this could show up as a sincere offer, a creative invitation, or an emotional conversation initiated with good intentions. Now, the Three of Pentacles grounds that emotion into collaboration and effort. This card is about working together, learning, and building something with others. It suggests that what's being nurtured isn't meant to happen in isolation. It benefits from teamwork, feedback, or shared goals. For instance, you might collaborate on a project, receive mentorship, or realize that mutual effort is required for things to grow properly. And then the energy turns inward with the Hermit. After connection and collaboration, there's a need for solitude and reflection. This card asks you to step back and evaluate whether the path you're on truly aligns with your inner truth. You may need time alone to think, journal, or seek quiet understanding before moving forward. An example could be choosing to pause a decision so you can listen to your inner voice rather than outside opinions. And then the week concludes with the Two of Pentacles, highlighting balance and adaptability. You're learning how to juggle priorities, emotions, responsibilities, inner needs, and external demands. This card suggests flexibility rather than perfection. In practical terms, this might mean managing time between work and personal life, balancing giving to others while caring for yourself, or adjusting plans as circumstances shift. So overall, the week tells a story of nurturing beginnings and heartfelt intentions that move forward into a shared effort, followed by necessary self-reflection and the ongoing task of balance. So the message is saying really that growth happens not only through connection and creativity, but also through knowing when to pause, reassess, and adjust as you go. All right, let's have a look at the final week, Scorpio. Fourth week of January for Scorpio. Start with the Sword King, Grail 5, Stone Hollow, Grail 8, and the Round Table. All right, let's look through this, shall we? So the final week of the month starts with the Sword King, setting a tone of authority, truth, and mental clarity. This figure represents clear judgment, boundaries, and the willingness to face reality head-on. You may be in a position where you must think critically and make decisions based on facts rather than emotions. For example, this could involve having a difficult but necessary conversation, setting firm boundaries, or choosing logic over wishful thinking. Next, we have the Grail 5, introducing disappointment or emotional loss. Despite the clarity of the Sword King, there is grief here. Something didn't turn out as hoped. This card often reflects focusing on what's gone wrong or what's been lost. You might feel regret over a choice, sadness about a relationship that changed, or disappointment that honesty came with emotional cost. It's the moment of realizing that truth, while necessary, can still hurt. Now, Stone Hollow deepens this energy, symbolizing withdrawal, stillness, and sacred solitude. This card suggests retreating inward to process what you're feeling, rather than pushing forward immediately. You're being called to pause and sit with the experience. In practical terms, this could look like stepping away from distractions, spending time alone in nature, or intentionally creating space that's quiet to reflect and heal. From that inner space emerges the Grail 8, a card of conscious departure. Unlike loss that happens to you, this card is about choosing to walk away from something that no longer fulfills you emotionally. You're not leaving in anger. You're leaving because you know there's more for you elsewhere. For example, you might decide to move on from an unbalanced relationship, a role that drains you, or an emotional pattern that you keep repeating. And then we conclude with the Round Table, a powerful symbol of equality, unity, and shared purpose. After the solitude and the release, you don't return to isolation, you return to connection, but on healthier terms. This card suggests collaboration, belonging, and mutual respect. You may find yourself joining a new group, rebuilding trust with others, or stepping into a community where every voice matters. It can also represent reconciliation, but only if it's based on fairness and honesty. So overall, the week tells a story of clear truth leading to emotional loss, followed by necessary withdrawal, intentional release, and eventually reconnection. So the message is that walking away from what no longer serves you isn't failure. It's what makes room for more balanced, respectful, and meaningful connections to form. All right, Scorpio, there you have it. I hope you found this helpful. I thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. You take care. Bye-bye.